breathing exercise as usual, watching the breath mindfully. And once your mind is quiet and calm, we can try to have good intentions. For example, the purpose and meaning of my life is not only to be just concerned with myself, but also to have concern for other sentient beings. To be able to help, support, and benefit others. And the best way to help and benefit others is to help them to overcome their own amplitude emotions, because those are the root of all the sufferings. And to help them to achieve not just temporary samsaric comfort and happiness, but to help them to achieve true lasting happiness, inner peace, joy. And to be able to help them to do that, I myself need to achieve fully awakened state as soon as possible. And to achieve that fully awakened state, I must engage in the practice of the Bodhisattva practices, path. And in order to practice successfully, correctly, I need to continue to study, learn. Therefore, I'm going to listen to the talk and try to integrate and apply whatever I find helpful and beneficial in the talk. Okay, do that.
Opening prayers, we'll do the praise to Shakyamuni Buddha 3 times in English. To the founder, the endowed, extended disorder, the one gone beyond perfect and knowledge and in good. Teacher of God's things. Specifically, got dates to the teachers have got to. They have found to destroy. There was a great. Because of your shot. I certainly. To the bound, yeah, they don't get the sword. The one from the. Still got to. Sure, bell offering once in Tibet. Sa ji Ju Shi Stop. On the next page, refuge in Bodhicitta, once in English, twice in Tibetan. I go for refuge, so I'm for the Buddha. It's but so
No, non avevamo vedere, quindi guardando della ciao. So in regard to the subjects of the discussions, the theory principle explained of the path, we finished the discussion on the renunciations, and then we are in the second principle explained of the path. The awakening mind of Bodhicitta. Within that, we talk about why we need to cultivate the Bodhicitta mind, and then we are in the second, where how to cultivate the Bodhicitta mind, and in the root text of the principle that we just read last week, where roughly it explained by seeing all mother sentient beings being carried away by the full current of birth, aging, sickness, and death. And not only they are being carried by those four, but they are, tied, which is very difficult to untie by the karma. And not only the being they are tied, they are caged in the iron cage of the the hierarchies of the defilements, and not only they are in the iron cage and tied by the karma, but also they are in the darkness of the ignorance. So through understanding that how all of the sentient beings are suffering in that way, then you try to reflect, contemplate on the pain and suffering of them, and wish to free them from the suffering, cause of suffering, and wish to lead them to the fully ultimate happiness, a fully enlightened state. So that is kind of the briefly that you explained, but then as I mentioned, this explain about how to cultivate the bodhicitta mind by using what you call 7 point of cause and effect. There are 6 causes, and then through the practice of those 6 causes, then it leads to the result, the awakening mind bodhicitta. The first one is recognizing all sentient beings being our mothers. How all sentient beings have been our mothers. As some teachers, one of my teachers, the present on the theory, not only you see them as they have been your mother, actually seeing they are your mother. Not just like your mother in the past, but actually they are mother. And then that is the recognizing all sentient beings as the mother, and then secondly, the second is recalling kindness for the mother. After you recognize everyone is your mother, then you try to recollect and remember not only being mother, but kindness of mother, the kindness they have shown when they were mothers. And once you feel after you have contemplated and reflect on the kindness of mother, you started to feel the kindness of them, then the wish to repair the kindness will come, If you can feel the kindness of someone, then, the wish to repair the kindness will come more easily. And the third one, the wish to repair the kindness. And once you have wish to repair the kindness, then the fourth one, then you cultivate the loving kindness, the mind of loving kindness, wanting them to have happiness and cause of happiness, wanting them to have success, peace, joy, And once you have loving kindness, then 51 is cultivating the compassions. And the compassion mind is, the wish to see them free from all the sufferings, the cause of suffering, the wish to see them free from all the problems, conflict. And then after you have cultivated that love and compassion, then the sixth one is, special attitude. Sometimes it's translated as universal responsibility. And that is not only wishing them to have happiness and cause of happiness, and not only wishing them to be free from suffering and cause of suffering, but actually taking the responsibility of yourself to do that. Taking the responsibility of oneself to help them to have happiness and cause of happiness, to lead them to be, to help them to liberate from the cause of happiness and, suffering and cause of happiness, cause of suffering by yourself. And when you have that special attitude, then you see, when you yourself is unenlightened, when you yourself in samsara, when you yourself is still under the control of delusion and karma, even you have the wish to help them, the help that you can do is very limited. You can help them a little bit, but you cannot really help them to free from all the delusion and cause of delusion completely, and you cannot help them to achieve fully enlightened because you are ignorance about it. You are unenlightened about it. So then the wish to achieve enlightenment in order to liberate them from all the suffering caused of them. That inspiration wish arises, and the wish to achieve fully enlightened state, fully awakened state, driven by that love, loving kindness, compassion, special attitude, in order to free them from all the suffering caused of them and lead them to the ultimate happiness and cause of it. That's the Bodhicitta mind, and that's the result, the seventh one. Okay, so that is a little bit kind of brief explanations of this particular what we call 7 point of cause and effect. That particular method of meditations, technique of meditation to cultivate Bodhicitta mind. And to be able to develop, unbiased loving kindness, compassion, unbiased or impartial, impartial compassions and special attitude, then first you need to have the foundations of what we call equanimity. If you have a strong foundation of equanimity, then on the basis of that equanimity, then you can be able to develop unbiased, impartial, loving kindness and compassion. If our mind is not even, with the equanimity, if our mind is biased, being so attached to some and having a strong aversion to some, then it will be impossible to feel loving kindness, compassion, unbiased to each and every sentient beings. And so therefore that is why first working on equanimity becomes very important. The practice of equanimity, and that become, again, we have to understand when we talk about equanimity, we have to differentiate between equanimity and indifference. Those are two different things. Sometimes people misunderstand when you talk about equanimity, then they feel like being indifferent. Equanimity means that you feel the same way, you treat the same to all equally, without being biased. Indifference, you don't care. You don't care what happened to this person, that person, or them. That is so. Again, sometimes I think when you hear equanimity, sometimes people misunderstand it to be indifference. Those are totally two different things. So in meditation, equanimity is, first you try to think, imagine, visualize, okay, someone who is more stranger or neutral in your life, okay, more neutral person in your life, someone you don't have any bad feelings, someone you don't dislike or you don't have any aversion or dislike, nor that you have strong liking or attachment or like that, but more neutral, So first you think, you imagine someone in front of you in such meditation practice. You imagine that person. Because it's easy to develop equanimity for that person. With someone we are very close to, we feel very strongly attached. Someone we have conflict, we have strong aversions, so it is difficult to have the equanimity. But someone who is neutral, then it's much easier to feel equanimity. And in meditation, you start with someone which is more easier. And that's the same in training, isn't it? Like even in physical training, we start with that. You start the more easy exercises before you started to get to more complicated one, whether it's yoga or other form of exercises, movements, you always start with the more easy ones. And then once you get good at that, then you started to a little bit more complicated, a little more difficult, and that same in meditation when you train your mind. When you train your mind, we use same, just like body training, same in we use something, we start with something was more easier. So you think in meditation, you think this person that you feel neutral at the moment, neutral persons, even though this person is kind of more neutral and more like kind of stranger in your life at this moment, from their side, from that person's side, they want to be happy and they do not want sufferings. But recognize that this person want to be happy and they do not want, he or she doesn't want suffering. From he or her side. From your side, if you look from many lifetimes, this person has been your close friends, families, and had a good relationship many times. Also, there are times when we had difficult relationship in the past, So that person we had all kinds of different experience and relationship in the past, good one, not so good one, neutral, So with that kind of understanding, feeling, then you feel kind of that person's more kind of neutral, There's no reason to be strongly attached. There's no reason to be strongly aversions. Feeling of more neutrals. Equanimity. Equanimity means free from the attachment and aversions or anger. More neutral state of mind, feeling. And then you visualize someone you are close to, that we feel very strongly attached, and then again, we can think even this person, even though in this life, we're having a good relationship, that we have good friends now, we are supportive with each other. We have been born in we have certain relationships, in families. So because of that, we have that relationship in all of that. But again, if we think for many, many lifetimes, there are times when they were also our enemies. And when we had hurt each other, harm each other, very negative relationship, we have harmed each other so many times as well. Again, remembering from their side, they want to be happy and stuff, doesn't want suffering. But from our side, they even though we have a really good relationship now, but in the past, we also had very bad relationship. Even though we help each other, support each other, but also in the past, we have hurt each other, harm each other. And therefore, there's no reason to be strongly attached on the basis of this particular relationship in this particular moment. There's no reason, because that is not the wholeness. So therefore, letting go of strong attachments and cultivating more kind of neutral minds instead of strong attachments. And same, then we visualize someone who we have strong conflict, someone we dislike very much, whether we call enemy or not. Again, at the moment, we have this dislike, a strong disliking. We have strong aversions or even anger. It's because we have difficult relationship in this life, in this moment. But if we talk for many, many lifetimes, if we talk for many, many lifetimes, there has been many lifetimes when they were the most supportive to us, were most helpful and beneficial. And we had some of the best relationship. some of the most kind, greatest relationship. So therefore, that being the case, it is not right and correct to feel a strong aversion, a strong dislike on the basis of the present situations, present moments. With that understanding, then again, we try to develop more sense of equanimity, more neutral without strong aversions and dislike. You know, it is like, to give an example, even we don't talk for many lifetimes, it's just give an example. Someone has been very kind, caring, loving, giving everything, sacrificing their own happiness for you for 20 years, 30 years. And now we have some small conflict now, for whatever something, we have some difficulty, some conflict. And how can you forget all of everything they have done and hold a strong dislike and aversion? That is not correct. That's not right. Not only from Dharma, even from ordinary point of view, even ordinary worldly point of view, such persons will think how ungrateful that person is. How ungrateful that person is. When someone has done so much for you, 20 years, 30 years, and now for a short period, you are having some challenges, some difficulties. On the basis of that, how can you just ignore and say everything they have done? You know? And on the basis of how can you develop such a strong dislike, strong aversion, strong anger? Is so ungrateful. You know? It's not correct, it's not right. So with such similarly, that's how we think that enemies or we dislike. For so many lifetimes in the past, they have been sacrificing their happiness, joy, and did so much for us. So in this life, for a short period, for whatever reason, we have some conflict. On the basis of that, how can you ignore and forget everything they have done in so many lifetimes, and just on the basis and just, and that will be very, very ungrateful, unkind, uncompassionate. And on the basis of that, then, we'll try to let go of strong feeling of aversions, dislike, and anger, and instead develop more sense of equanimity, more neutral state of mind. And then once you are able to do those three categories, then you explain to all sentient beings, all other sentient beings. At the moment in meditation, we think of three individuals. Okay, three individuals. Then next, then you include all sentient beings, all sentient beings. So from their side, all these sentient beings want to be happy. They do not want sufferings. From their side, all of them equally. Everyone wants to be happy. Nobody wants sufferings. From our side, they all have been, in certain many lifetimes, they all have been our most kind, caring, loving family members, friends, supporters, colleagues, and so forth. Also, in so many lifetimes, they all have been equally, had a difficult relationship with them, where they are hurt and harmed, and vice versa in that way, where we have not easy and very difficult relationship, that all of them equally, we had in many lifetimes we shared a good relationship, and many lifetimes we shared a very difficult relationship. They're all the same, equal in that way. And so therefore, there's no reason to have this biased, discriminating mind, where you feel so close and so strong attachment to some, and to feel so distant and aversion and angry to some, when we share same relationship, when you look from many lifetimes, also with everyone equal. through such meditation, contemplation, then you try to develop equanimity to all of them, without that discriminating mind, bias, discriminating mind of attachment, aversion, but instead feeling kind of more equal to all, even, equal, and equanimity. So that is first we try to meditate. And the stronger practice and realization you have an equanimity basis, the more easier it is to cultivate true love and compassion to all sentient beings. It's like building a house on even ground. Is more stable. If you build on uneven, there's more dangers. There's danger of instabilities. And so therefore, in order to have a stable, loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta mind, stable, then you need the even ground of equanimity. So that is first. So that is the foundations. Meditation and economy. Even that, just that meditation could take us, many lifetimes, or one lifetimes, or few years. Of course, it all depends on individuals. Like everything, some people can learn quickly, they can make more progress quickly. Some people take more times. Due to their past imprint, due to how much effort they put, due to other conditions, many other conditions. So definitely, for some, they can make progress quickly. For some, it could take many, many years, even lifetimes, even just to have that first, the foundations, So we have to remember, we study the Buddhism. We are not just collecting the informations, new information, learning something new all the time. We continue to study and learn until we have those realizations. You have to be reminded of all those practice so that we continue to practice so that we can have realizations. If you already have realization, then maybe you don't need to study on that particular subject. If you have especially realization that is unreturning, that way you don't lose that. You reach certain point that you don't lose that, then you don't have to hear more, you don't have to study more about that particular subject. But until we have that realization, that is something we need to continue to study, learn, remind ourselves all the time. Also, one of the beauty of the Dharma is, even you have studies, many times you can always have more deeper understanding. You can always deeper understanding. And that is all our teacher always used to say. You read the same books, Dharma book, 100 times, 200 times, 300 times. Each time you read, you can get something more deeper meanings. Unlike like reading a novel or stories, And that is the beauty of the Dharma, because there's much more deeper and profoundness in each of those teachings, based on your own understanding, based on your own realizations. when you have more deeper understanding, when you have more higher realizations, your understanding of that teaching become more and more deeper and more profound. So that is the equanimity. Then on the basis of equanimity, then coming to the first of the seven calls, first is recognizing all sentient beings being your mother and fathers. Not only being your father and mother, being your father and mother many times. So from Buddhist point of view, there is no beginning to your life. There is no beginning to samsara, and there is no beginning to your life in samsara. There is end to the samsara, but no beginning to the samsara. And also there is no beginning to the life. Since there is no beginning to the life, then each time we take life, we have the mothers. So since we have countless, I don't know, infinity is the right word, but countless, if we have, from the beginner's lifetime, we have taken countless different rebirth within the samsara, within the different realms. We have taken countless. And each time we take those rebirth, we have the parents, and each time the parents are not same. This life, my parent is different. Next life, my parents are different. In certain time, they might be same, but most time, there's changes of that. So you cannot point and say, this person has not been your father. These persons have not been your mothers. So from that point of view, then we recognize everyone has been our mother, father. Everyone has been our siblings. Everyone has been our uncle, aunties. Everyone has been our grandparents. Everyone has been our children. It's just that we cannot recognize and remember. It's just that at the moment we cannot recognize and remember. But they all have been our best friends so many times, our best parents so many times, our sibling, not only sibling, best siblings so many times, best uncle, auntie so many times, best grandparents so many, so they all have been that, So recognizing that all has been our mother. And as I mentioned at the very beginning, my teacher says, no, it is more powerful when you think not only they have been my mother, but actually thinking they are my mother. It's like, your mother gave you a birth and she took care of you. And then for whatever reason, we got separated. And then we don't recognize each other's. We don't recognize each other, but still we don't remember each other. We don't recognize each other, but still is your mom who gave you the birth and who took care of you when you were very, very young. Just because you don't remember, because you cannot recollect, that doesn't mean that person was not your mom and that you are not your mom's child. Same way, we don't remember each of us and all sentient beings. You cannot recollect, we cannot remember, but they were our mom and they are our mom. And yeah, it is more powerful when you think they are my mother instead of they have been my mothers. It's just like thinking he's my friend instead of he has been my friend. Huge difference. Do you get it? And I think it's more powerful. Even not only just they have been my mother, but they are my mother. You know. So thinking in that way can be even more powerful. So basically recognizing all sentient beings being your mother. So that is, and you see that term so often in Mahayana's teachings, practice, all mother sentient beings, all mother sentient beings all the time. You see that term in all so many practices, so many prayers. Secondly, once you recognize everyone has been your mother, second is recollecting and remembering the kindness of your mother, especially starting with the kindness of your mother in this life. Of course, for some people, they might have challenges and difficulties, because of their particular relationship. And in some relationship, maybe they might find difficult to remember or feel the kindness of mothers. I have a friend, she said, when she first went to the teachings, in one of the centers, Tibetan Buddhist Center in California, the teacher was giving teaching on bodhicitta and kindness for mother. And she said she felt very unconnected. She couldn't understand what he's talking about, the kindness of mother, because she didn't feel like that was her experience, because she has a very difficult relationship with her mother. Very difficult relationship with her mother, so she couldn't connect with the teachings when the teacher was saying all the kindness of the mothers, And she felt that was not my experience. That was not my mom. She was having a difficult. And then, she said she went and saw the teachers and explaining, she couldn't connect with that teachings. She doesn't feel the kindness of mothers. And the teaching seems kind of foreign to her or unrelatable. It wasn't her experience. That is how. And the teacher said, try to remember and try to write one every day, each day, different kindness your mom has shown you when you were young, And if you write down one by one each day different, maybe you might be able to feel after some time. But at the very beginning, she couldn't come up with one kind actions of her mom. She couldn't think and write down, this was the kindness that my mother showed with that actions or that, with that. That was how much, she struggled, But she says somehow the teaching somehow kind of attract her, and she continued to go to the teachings, even though that was how her experience at the very beginning. And slowly hearing those teachings again and again, and of course other teachings, her mind started to open a little bit, become more soft. Her mind started to become more soft, more opening, and then she started to remember and recollect some of the kind actions of her mom, caring, compassionate act. And slowly, she's able to feel, remember, recollect, and feel the kindness and compassion of mothers and compassionate actions of mother more and more and more. And then eventually, after she started to feel that, her response to her mother changes, and then the relationship improve, the relationship improve, and then they have really good relationship later, And her mom is a Christian, but she saw the change in her daughter after she practiced the Buddhism. And her mom sent a message through her to her teachers to tell him, thank him for giving back my daughter. That is what she said, Thank the teachers and tell him that I thank from my heart, that he helped to give my daughter back, So that is what I'm saying. A lot of people might have same experience like her, because of some challenges, difficulty in certain part of your life, in certain period, conflict. Due to that, sometimes our mind become very hardening, not soft, not so opening, close. And when your mind is that, it's very hard to feel the kindness, the compassions. And when you cannot feel that compassion and kindness, then it's hard to relate with those teachings. Then you have difficulty relating with those teachings. And one of the problem with us is, we easily forget someone's compassions, someone's compassionate act, kind act. Even when they have been very kind, compassionate a long time, we can forget them sometimes easily. But if they have done one bad thing, we hardly forget. We hardly forget, Unfortunately, that is our human mind, ordinary human mind, Someone is very appreciative, gracious, grateful for your support and always thanking, acknowledging. And then one day they forget to acknowledge and thank you. And you might remember that one. You might forget 100 times, 1,000 times he or she has acknowledged and expressed grateful and appreciate all of that. But in one time they forgot to do that. And that you might not forget that easily. And you might always think, oh, he or she was so ungrateful, so unappreciated. He or she didn't even acknowledge everything that I did, everything. And similarly, that's what we happen even with our parent. How much sacrifice they have given, how much kindness, compassion they have shown, how much they have done. We might not remember, we might have forgotten all of that, but maybe they have been some, they might have lost their mind, they might have been unkind, or maybe, some conflict we had, some strong discussions, strong disagreements, or maybe they might have kind of yelled at you, or maybe they might have, even maybe sometimes physically, punished or disciplined 1 time, 2 times, and probably we have not forgotten all of that. Probably we have not forgotten that 2 instance, 3 instance, 4, 5 instance. And we have forgotten all other good things, compassion, kindness they have done. So again, I think it's good to remind ourselves of all of that, how our mind functions, how our mind is selective in remembering and only the bad things and easily forgetting the good things, the positive things, and because of that, then sometimes we feel like, someone has not so kind and compassionate, just because on the basis of 1 or 2 event instead that we remember not so great experience. So anyway, talking about the kindness of the mothers, a lot of those kindness probably we don't remember anything. Before the birth, when the parent, especially mother, they plan for the child, all the care they take, how to make sure that the child doesn't suffer, even in terms of what they eat, if they find this kind of food can hurt the child in the womb, they try to avoid as much as possible. Even something they like very much. Even some exercises, things they like to enjoy, when they know it could hurt the child, they will stop doing that. Even before the birth, they already sacrifice so much of their own happiness, their own goal, their own dreams for the well-being of the child. They plan that because of their kind of compassion, love for the child. That is why they take all these precautions. Make sure nothing is damaged to the child in the womb. Carrying those 9 months is not easy, especially as we come closer and closer to as your pregnancy, go, and as you go, you come closer and closer to the last few months, despite all this pain and challenges that they don't complain. Instead, they are always excitedly waiting for the child, And of course, we don't remember all of that. Of course, we don't remember that, And then after the birth, the mother, parents, especially mother, try to wrap the child with as much soft as clothes so that it doesn't feel the coldness or heatness. Protect that, holding your body to give the warmth, to give the kind compassion, cleaning all of that, and then as after the birth, cleaning all your what they call excrement and pee, all of that, without any hesitations. If someone asks me to clean their poop there, even they pay you, will you be able to, do that? You have a resistance, you will have some resistance, even someone pay you. But as a parent, as a mother, no hesitation, without two mind, not just one day. You have to clean so many days, so many times, sometimes 2, 3 times a day, and for weeks, months, and years. Yes.
What's the best way to repay your parents? Because my parents did that for free at one time, since I'm a triplet. So,
Wow. Yeah. Well, it will come in the third one. We are still in second point. Remember the kindness, and then third one is repaying the kindness. So when we come to that, we'll talk a little bit more. But yeah, remember the kindness. So that we are still at that point, and giving the milk, looking with kind and compassion to the child every day, and when they see some kind of growth and some kind of improvement in child, they are so excited, more excited in achieving their own success, their own dream, to see the child to be able to do things that they don't do before, to be able to smile, to be able to be curious every time when they are able to kind of starting to crawl, starting to walk, starting to talk, when they are starting to say a word, when they are starting to understand the words. So there's all this joy, excitement, all that. Why is there so much excitement? Why is there so much joyfulness? To see that because of their incredible compassions, because of their incredible affections, love and compassion of the child. When they see all of that, and constantly holding, and again, I even saw, I think, some articles. If the mother doesn't have the compassion for the child, even the milk doesn't come. For the milk for the child to be able to drink the milk, whether it's animal or the human beings, it depends on the mother's compassions. If mother doesn't have compassion wanting to give, biologically, even the milk kind of dry up, it doesn't come, And so even that, of course, maybe nowadays changed a little bit, with feeding, with other things, but that is how traditionally, feeding by the breast, your own milk. And I think now even there is more and more, seems to be more research which shows it's better to feed with your own breast for the development of the child, and also holding them, in your body, instead of keeping them distant, that also have an effect on the development of the child's brain and emotional and all of that. And I wonder sometimes why now in modern society where there is more problem with, emotional and all, because maybe the way you bring up your child in the old times, even in my times, not so old, my parents, they were carrying us all the time, Of course, they are holding their body when they are feeding the child with the milk all the time, even when they are walking, they carry on their back, and so constantly always being close to their body, and that I think help the child's growth, the growth of their brain, the growth of their emotional feeling of love compassions, you know. And when you feel that love, compassion from the very young age, you know, when you grow up, you know, I think there's less problem of feeling loneliness. You know, there's less problem with feeling uncared, unloved, all of that, you know. So, you know, so yeah, so anyway, so those are, and then as I mentioned, you know, when you are young, you cry, you wake up, you know, so many times. And again, you have no complaint, you know, you get up when the child cries, whether it's child with you or whether it's the other side of the bed, you get up, try to clean up, it need to be clean, try to feed, it need to be feed. Try to put to sleep if you need to put to sleep. Whatever is needed to calm the child from whatever uncomfortable that child's feelings. And again, it's not day, weeks, months, years. You know, for us, let's say, even you are being paid to take care of someone who is sick and who constantly make you get up in the middle of the night again and again. How will you feel? Will you feel, you know, joy, happy, and, you know, not complain, you know, and not wanting to give up the job, you know, wanting to have another job, you know? And then next morning, oh, I couldn't sleep because he or she was, you know, waking me up so many times. I couldn't sleep well, you know, I didn't have enough sleep and being kind of grumpy and that. Even when you are being paid, here, the parent, mothers, they are not being paid, you know, and they don't feel that and so that is how much affection is all they are able to do, all of that. They are able to do all of that and they continue to do that because of their love, compassion, affection for the child. Because of that, you know. Then, you know, as we grow from very young age, they feed, you know. And first, they feed the child, you know. Before they eat, they feed the child, you know. If it's too warm, they try to make it cooler, you know. And if it's too difficult to chew, they try to, of course, nowadays, you know, because we think it's too gross in that, but in the old times, the mother will chew and then give it. Just like you see in animals, birds, you know, because the child cannot chew that, you know. That is how much sense of love, compassion, care they can, you know. They don't mind them going empty for a day or for a meal as long as they can find something for the child. The child is first priority. The well-being of the child is first priority than their own well-being. You know, they were more worried for when the child gets sick, unwell, the fear, the worry is much more than their own health issues. You know, such is the kindness of the mother. You know, and then as we grow, you know, they teach us how to walk. They teach us how to speak. You know, they teach us how to eat. So they teach us everything that we need to learn They teach us all of that, you know. And then, you know, if there's a school, then they send to schools, you know. And again, you can see, you know, the family works so hard to earn the money to be able to send the children to a better school so that they can get better educations. You know, I've seen that everywhere. India, Nepal, you know, the parent, you know, they work so hard in such a sun and such a hard work with a small, very small salary and so forth. But with that, instead of having a nice clothes, better place to stay, they spend that for the child educations. For the child educations. They could have made their living much more comfortable. But instead they choose to spend the money for the child educations. So always, you know, thinking of the well-being of the child more than their own well-beings. So according to, you know, your own resource capacities, you know, trying to always give them better educations, wanting to see their children have better education than that they themselves have had, you know. Even they have their own dream, their own goal to achieve, but instead they give the resource instead of spending for their own to accomplish their own dream, their own thing they want to do, you know, that will give them joy in doing that. But first they try to spend for the education and well-being of the child. That just show the sacrifice, the love, the compassion the parent, mother had for the child. Mm. And the you know the mothers to protect the child, you know, they are willing to make enemies and fight in order to protect the child. You know, in order to protect the child, even it means making enemy with your own partners. Even it means making enemy with your own family members. Even it means making enemy with your friends. They are willing to do that. Willing to do that. Willing to give up their own, all this relationship that you build up, which you cherish. You are willing to give up all of that when it is for the child, for the protection of the child. And you see that, you know, I saw that a lot in my mom's, you know, fighting with relatives and others, friends, you know, trying to support and protect the child. Even with my father, not only physically, not only verbally, even physically, I saw them fighting, you know. My father was like many in many places in old times, you know, he was disciplinary. And of course, sometimes you need a disciplinary when you have, you know, when the children are too wild and that you cannot kind of train them, you know. So my father was disciplinary, you know, and sometimes he disciplined with physically, and when that is my, you know, my mother will fight back physically, you know. And that you see also not only human, even in animals, you know. The mothers to protect the child, you know, willing to fight, you know, even with her partner, if she feels that it's danger to her child, you know, willing to sacrifice their own life in order to protect the child, you know. Even in animal, you see, you know, the parent, especially the mother, trying to protect the child, even in such a windy, even it seems they might be blown away by the wind or any other elements, but they don't want to leave the child. They will stay there, you know, protect the child, you know, not willing to go. Even they are being attacked by some others, much more stronger, bigger others, you know, they try to defend, you know. You see so much of that if you look at those animals, you know, whether it's Geography or Animal Planet or you know, others. There was one with BBC, you know, all incredible, you know, how much the parent, especially the mothers in most cases, you know, sacrifice and give for the child, upbringing of child to protect the child. You know. Even in monastery, you know, at one time, somehow one bird has made a nest, a small bird, just next to the door, you know. And so then later there was a egg, you know. And so when you pass by, it's just here, you know, by the door. And sometimes you look at the mother, little bit kind of suspicious, not so sure. But she's not willing to fly away. Even though she's not so sure, you know, that you could hurt her, but she tried to protect the child, you know, and not willing to fly away just because she feels that she might be in danger. She doesn't want to put the child in danger. And one day the child has, after the bird has grown child, it fall down, you know, I think maybe. So I was trying to pick up and put in, and then mother thought, of course, I was hurting. And it's small, you know, making all sound and trying to jump and trying to pick, you know. Such a small, but what even her way to trying to scare me, trying to push me away, you know, because she thought I was trying to hurt her. And those are the things, you know, how much the mother does for the child. You know, how much the mother do for the child. You know, and even when you are 80 and 90s, the mother doesn't stop worrying about you. You know, they don't stop worrying about you. My mom always, sometimes I have to lie her. Every times, you know, when I go back home, you know, who's flying with you? Do you have a friend? You know, she always worry, you know. And at the very beginning, I said, no, I'm flying myself. But then I noticed she's worried, so I said, yes, I'm full of friends, you know, in the plane, you know. And same thing, you know, she worried so much about me being here. She says she's more worried about me among all children. She said, you are so far away without any family members. What will happen if you get sick? Who will take care of you? You know, all of that she worried so much all the time. Even though no matter how much I explain her, she doesn't need to worry. I have people who will take care of me, just like families. But you know, she cannot stop worrying. That is mother, that is mother. She might be able to stop worrying about herself, but she cannot stop worrying about the child. And that shows, the mothers, even when child and mother have some difficult relationship, they have some conflict later, even they have some conflicts, difficulties, and maybe even they don't have a best relationship, but even in those cases, the mother still worry about the child, think about the child, very much think about the child, worry about the child, they cry quietly, about the child, such is the kindness of the mother. Basically, you can see whether in human beings and animals, they take care of us until we are on our own feet, until we are able to take care of ourselves. Of course, they continue to help even after that, but especially until, even with the animals, until they are on their own, they teach them, they bring up, they teach them how to hunt, how to look for food, how to protect themselves. They teach them all of that. And once they learn all of those skills, and once they are able to protect themselves, take care of themselves, then then they might separate, they might go their own way. And in humans, legally, when you are 18, then then you are supposed to be your own way, and in certain cultures, of course, in certain culture, there's no age. 18, even in 40s, 50s, they're still staying with their parents, and parent will support them as long as they need. So anyway, so that is that. So, but thing is, when we need it most, when you are most vulnerable, the parents, especially the mother, will support for us there. That's why we're still alive now. The very reason we are still alive clearly shows our parents, mothers have really taken care of us when we are most vulnerable. When we are most vulnerable, when we're very young, when we're most vulnerable, when you do not know fire and electricity, when you can easily be electrically shocked by the electricity if the parent doesn't watch. You can be burned by the fires. You can be cut by those knives. When you could swallow something and choke and die, when you can fall from the cliff of the house or cliff of something, because you cannot differentiate, you don't know this is something danger to you, when you don't know, they'll be constantly watching, taking care, so that we don't burn ourselves, that we don't cut ourselves, that we don't choke ourselves, that we don't fall down ourselves, break and die, and so forth. When we are most vulnerable, when we didn't know how to take care of ourselves, they were there for us. That's why we're still alive and still in good conditions. Regardless of what our relationship now, regardless of what kind of relationship, good relationship or not so great, bad relationship at the moment, but they were there for us, our mom, when we're most needed and when we're most vulnerable. And we can never forget that. We shouldn't forget that. But that is the, a little bit of, the kindness of the mother, the kindness of mother. And many of those things you don't remember clearly, but we can imagine. You know, a lot of things that I explain now, especially when I was very young, I don't remember most of those things. But I can see, my memory is not there, even I don't remember, but I can see that's how they brought me, that's how they treat me, you know. And it's the same, all of us, you know. So we have to put effort. Like something unpleasant things happened, we don't have to think about it, we remember very clearly. Okay. We don't have to remember consciously, we remember very clearly. But all this kindness, compassions that they show to us, especially when we're most vulnerable and when we're unable to take care of ourselves, all those we don't remember, so we have to consciously put effort to remember them. And that is what the meditation is about. Meditation is putting the effort, constantly trying to remember all this kindness. So we can feel it, because that is something that happened. It's just that we don't remember, therefore we cannot feel it. If you remember, then you can feel the kindness and compassion. But if you don't remember, because, you know, and to remember, you have to meditate, constantly try to remember each of those compassionate, kindness, compassion that they have shown day by day, hour by hour, day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, for so many years. And they continue to, you know. So that is the kindness of the second point of the meditations. Recollecting and remember the kindness of the mothers. Okay. So any questions? Any questions, comment? Yes, please. Yeah.
So I'm thinking about the people you have aversions to.
Mm.
And I was taught that to do a meditation, a forgiveness meditation. And you get to the point where you forgive them and you ask them to forgive you in your meditation. And I reach a certain calmness about that. And so is that a Buddhist thing to do also?
Yeah, definitely there is a meditation practice of forgiveness. There is definitely, I don't know, the method might be slightly different or same, you know. From Buddhist point of view, you know, they don't have to ask the forgiveness. You know, of course, if they ask the forgiveness, it's even better. Someone asks forgiveness.
No, this is not precipitated by somebody else asking you.
Mm.
It's what I would do if I'm angry with someone. In understanding, you know, their difficulties in their life.
Yes.
So I can get to the point of love and compassion.
Yeah. So that is same as Buddhist.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other thing about this, you talk about people who are close friends and then all of a sudden their feelings are hurt. And isn't the Buddhist thing to say there's no expectations? And so, you know, that's an illusion.
Yeah. Yes. Of course, in Buddhism, we talk about letting go of attachment, aversions. You know, so if you don't have attachment, then you have less expectations. And if you have less expectation, you don't get so much hurt when someone responds or reacts in a certain way. So you get more hurt when you expect someone to respond a certain way. And the more attachment, grasping you have, the more expectations that you have. So, so definitely, we just talked today, and we have been talking all the time. Buddhism is training to let go of attachment, aversion, ignore all those affective emotions. Yeah, reducing and slowly letting go of them. Yeah. Of course, it requires a lot of practice. There's that concept or the practice, but to really reach that point, then you have to practice. Just knowing the concept, not just knowing the practice. If you don't apply, then you don't reach that point. To reach that point, then first you need to understand the concept, study, and then you have to apply those and put into practice. Yeah. So then we'll do the dedications.
Dedicate the merit created by this wonderful teaching to all those beings everywhere on every prayer list. We dedicate for all those experiencing obstacles, specifically Jana, Mary Jo, Katie, Josie, victims of violence, Stella, Bones Broken, River the Cat, and Raquel. We dedicate for all those experiencing illness, specifically Yeshi the dog, Jim B, John B, Lisa Pacheco, Patty, Bill, Brian, Allie, Rolf, Debbie, Jane, Dorcas, David Doyle, and Laura. We dedicate for those who have died recently or who are dying, specifically Jeanette A, Carol McCall, Robert, Patty Ann, Eric, Aileen, mosquitoes, people in Gaza and Lebanon, Enzo the dog, and the snake. Any others?
For Matt, obstacles,
Matt?
correct, yes.
Okay.
And for death, John.
Okay, got it.
And obstacles, Pamela,
Pamela,
Natalie, and Joe, C. And that's all I need.
okay. Josie is on here,
Okay, thank you.
and I added Pamela and Madeline.
Great.
Any others?
Is here tonight. Not, I know this is all. Precious maybe?
It does look like that.
Yeah, okay.
All right. All right, we can do our dedication prayers. If I can Gewadi. Next page, we'll do long life prayers for our teachers, starting with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. The wish granted. Stores are And for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, peerless teacher. And for Oslapita Lama Yeshu for information. Venerable one, to you, for speaking valid.
Thank you. And John, I think maybe you might have to change the Lama Zopa Rinpoche's, because these are the older versions. Yeah. The newer versions is a little better. Okay, thank you everyone, thank you, good night, thank you. Thank you.